class. Today we're going to be learning about how does your heart work. I want you to place your hand on your chest. What is beating? That's your heart. That's beating. The beating of your heart started occurring before you were even born. It beats 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It happens automatically without you even knowing about it. There are 4 chambers of your heart. We have the left atrium, the right atrium, the right ventricle, and the left ventricle. They all have their purpose in making sure that the heart receives blood, pumps the blood, and carries the blood to ensure that this mechanism is working the way it should be working. So first we're going to cover the left atrium and the right atrium. Remember we had studied about the left atrium and the right atrium and their job, but right now we're going to focus on how do they work in pumping the blood in the heart, and how do they make sure the heart works in such a way that we are receiving blood continuously. The left atrium. The left atrium receives blood from the lungs. It receives blood from the lungs. It's high in oxygen, it is low in carbon dioxide. The right atrium, on the other hand, receives blood from all the other parts of the body. It's high in carbon dioxide, but it's low in oxygen. Next, we're going to cover the ventricles. The job of the ventricles. Well, before we cover the ventricles, let me remind you that both atrium feel blood at the same time. Both the left atrium and the right atrium feel blood at the same time. So they're crucial in feeling blood. The ventricles. Now we talk about the ventricles. The right ventricle and the left ventricles. The right ventricle pumps blood to the lungs, and the left ventricle pumps blood to all the parts of the body. What's very interesting about the ventricles is that they are pumping blood at the same time. So the pumping the blood is going at the same time. It sounds very confusing for you to know what is the mechanism of the left atrium, the right atrium, the right ventricle, left ventricle. So I'm going to show you an easy way to remember it. If you can connect left and right. So we're going to take the left atrium and the right ventricle. The left atrium receives blood from the lungs, and the right ventricle pumps blood from the lungs. So that's a connection for you to remember. Left atrium, right ventricle. Now we have the right atrium, which receives blood from all the parts of the body, and the left ventricle, which pumps blood to all the parts of the body. So the connection is left atrium, right ventricle. Right atrium, left ventricle. By connecting those two, you realize that it's an easier way to remember the four chambers of the heart and the role that they play in ensuring that the heart pumps the way it should be pumping.